smart thing and try and figure it out, because like we was like, does anyone want to do this anymore? I'm like, yeah, we do. Love the album that we've made. Why is everything else so fucked? Basically.
Right, so I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend himself. How are you doing, Winston?
Am I a myth? I'd love to be a myth. If someday I get to become a myth, that'd be great. There's this myth of a man called Winston. I'm doing good. It's good to be here, man.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you're not sunburnt from all the flames I've been seeing on tour.
I actually was.
No way.
Yeah, but like the last couple of days, I'm like, why is my face peeling? And there was a side draft on one of the days, and like,
No way.
yeah, a little bit of scorchy. So yeah.
So I'll kind of jump straight into Darker Still.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I wanted to know, what was it that made you want to have a concept album as, you know, the next kind of piece of the puzzle?
It's not so much a concept album in the sense of us sitting down going, we're making a concept album. It was more that the lyrics and everything were written from a certain point of view. I mean, every album's like that I write lyrically is just a reflection of me at that point in time, and the concept of this Dark Night of the Soul was literally what I was going through. So that kind of dictated the way everything came out and kind of suited the time that it was written in, because I started like screwing around with that concept before COVID even hit, and then lo and behold, we all go through the journey of COVID, which has not been a light one for anyone. And the way we, like I already told the guys way before we started that it would be an interesting way to structure an album in terms of just the lyrics. And from there, the tone of the album was it just is what it is, like sonically. Like the way we put together music is like, it starts with us writing a couple of songs, seeing how they relate to each other. Then that fires off, like, well, we want something else that feels different or feels similar to balance something out or take it somewhere else. So we'll start working on that, and then that changes how everything else is related, and you slowly start building these things to create a cohesive piece of work. And what that cohesive piece of work is generally the thing that has the most I'm going to say concept around it, because you do say, how do you want to start it, how do you want to end it, where do you want to go? And this one was definitely about making it an uneasy listen for people, in terms of we didn't want there to be really a safe place. Like it's like you get lured in with the safety of just Parkway Drive at the start, and then it starts to, like, every time you kind of think you've got it, it kind of takes a twist, and it brings you back around and makes you reconsider where it's going, and keeping that going right up until the end, because that is kind of what the journey of the lyrics are about as well. So yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of reflected in the music then.
100%, yeah. Like it's reflected in the music, and it's interesting because, like, the other guys don't have anything to do with the lyric writing other than them saying, I like this or I don't like that, and giving their feedback. But it definitely, like, the tone of what I'm writing about and the tone of what the music is being written, that it always works in a very similar way. Like, it always seems to go in the same direction, even though they're worked on, I'm going to say, from an origin point separately. It's weird, a lot of stuff in the band happens from a very personal origin point from all of the members of the band, like from the writing group of the band. Comes from a very personal and separate origin point, but once it comes to the rest of us and it's presented, it's something which we all seem to resonate with very naturally straight away. And it's the kind of thing where we're like, I know where that piece of your imagination has come from, and now I know what I need to add to it. So it's strange, dude. I don't know. It's just a lot of feeling it out. Like, we just play music and we feel it out, and we decide as we go where it's going and what feels correct for that era. Wow. That's a very long answer.
No,
very short question, but
100%. Like, but one of the things I was going to say is, you know, what kind of, because the idea of what the Dark Night of the Soul is a pretty hefty subject.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, I feel like it would be hard to put that into an album.
Yeah, to a degree, and I guess unless you can acknowledge and relate to it in some way. And for me, it was like, it's it's something where I was just like, I guess when you have a viewpoint that you're coming from of experience, it's you're able to capture moments of that experience in the lyricism, and especially when we're in a band that likes to, let's just say, adventure with the sounds that we can make. I mean, the doors are wide open for it, however you want to interpret that, however confusing or nasty or rallying or depressing or just brutal it can be. We can do anything we want with that kind of stuff, and putting that whole thing together is it's actually like that part of it's quite easy, because especially this album, we do whatever the fuck we want. and like there's a lot of different stuff on there. The idea was just like, if we want to do it, we're going to do it, which is quite liberating. So the subject matter of actually writing something and putting that to the music is not so much of a challenge, which is good. And that whole journey itself is, I mean, it's an outlet. Being able to write lyrics has always been an outlet for me. It's just like a piece of me being able to be expressed. So it's not so much of a challenge, even as hefty as it actually is. It's like, I mean, if it's part of you, it'll come out. Yeah. Whatever art you create, that's the thing. And I have words. Yeah.
So what was it kind of, what would you say that you discovered about yourself in that journey of the Dark Night of the Soul?
That's a really interesting one. So I'm a people pleaser. A people pleaser as a person. I don't like pissing people off. I don't like people thinking I'm a dickhead. Like, I'll try and make someone comfortable. And the further I've gone in life, and especially the more we do this thing, the more people know who you are, the more it just changes people's opinion of you, or they have an opinion of you that you're like, that's not me, I swear that's not me. And you'll go out of your way to make sure someone's happy. And at some point in time you're like, well, that doesn't make me happy. Like, at some point in time you can't please someone. They just think that you are either a bad person or you're the villain in their world. And a whole bunch of stuff for me happened where it was just like, I watched relationships change over time, really personal ones where I'm like, I've not changed as a person, but I can see that what's happening within our world is changing your perception of me. So, I'm not gonna just basically just cower. Like, I'm happy to, like, if you want to see me as the villain, well, that's fucking fine. I'll be the villain. Like, I'm not gonna bend just for that. You're gonna have to live with it. And that was the empowering part of it for me. Like, amongst other things, the empowering part was basically just stepping into myself and realizing that, like, even if someone says I'm a fuckwit or I'm an egotist or an evil person or whatever, like, I know I'm not, and that's on them. So
it's all about that self-assurance and understanding oneself, which I think is something loads of people will relate to on this album. Right?
I think so, yeah. And I mean, it's actually like, it's one of the things that came out in the music as well. Like, it's there's divisive sounds on this for a very antagonistic reason. Like, there's a lot of audacity in the sounds that we chose to put down, simply for that reason of, like, proving the point of just like, we are the ones who dictate what this is, for no other reasons that we are the ones doing it. Until I die, until I die.
So, feel free not to answer this if you don't want to or anything like that, but I know it's been quite widely documented that there were some sort of issues in the band and things like that. But what was kind of like the moment that you kind of all realised, like, okay, we really need to sort this out?
There's been several moments over the years, and what we did basically, like, first and foremost, the main issue was communication. When we've been doing this, like, it started about 5 years ago, and when shit really started blowing up and we just all started taking on different things, basically what we all did was, like, take something on and just be strong and not talk about it, be stoic, take some more responsibility, don't acknowledge that this is actually affecting us in any way. And when it finally got brought up, we did a rush job of, like, okay, yep, now we've dealt with it, let's just keep going back to the grind, just because you've got to fucking grind. As a band, you've got to tour and you've got to record, and you've got to tour and record. The idea of taking time out to do something is like pulling yourself out of that cycle and the possibility that you can't get back in. And this was just the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of COVID adding a whole lot of pressure to everyone's lives in different ways while we were trying to record this thing, and write this thing, which was a massive challenge in itself. And then at the end of it was just complete burnout, and the lines of communication had been down so long that it had just turned to resentment. And when it got to that point, it was like, we're trying to talk, but it was like everyone's speaking a different language. And not only is everyone speaking a different language, but they didn't even want to learn the other person's language. And we're like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to just go on tour in 4 weeks' time in this state and be in confined quarters after 3 years of not being in confined quarters? Or do you do the smart thing and try and figure it out? Because like we were just like, does anyone want to do this anymore? We're like, yeah, we do. Love the album that we've made. Why is everything else so fucked? Basically. So yeah, and then luckily Luke was like, well, we need to get someone external. We need help with this because we obviously can't do it ourselves. And that's where it started for us, and it's been really awesome, and it's an ongoing thing for us. It's been a massive sense of growth and sense of reconnection and connection and validation, like a lot of validation for the amount of work and pain and sacrifice that's actually gone into doing this, because we never acknowledged any of that. We were just like, a lot of the time we're just like, just lucky we're here. And yeah, there's luck, but there's been a lot of other stuff that's been put into this band over the years that no one other than the band members know about, and then when even the band members don't acknowledge it for fear of pushing each other apart, you're kind of left with just feeling really isolated, in an isolated position, which is, gnarly.
Well, I guess, like you said, it's all about communication and also like listening to each other.
Dude, yeah.
Rather than just talking to each other,
100%, yeah, that was one of the things. We'd be like, someone would explain something, and then someone else would go, yeah, and then they'd just talk, and then another person would go, yeah, and then we didn't take any time to let it sink in or recognize each other's situations or validate anyone's, or even validate our own success. Like our successes and our strengths and everything, it was just like expected. We just expected everything of everyone else, the strength to be there, and just don't talk about it. And it's just not healthy. It's not healthy in society, and you don't learn that. And as men, you don't learn that very, very much. Like especially like in Australian society, it's just like, man up, shut up,
harden the fuck up kind of thing.
Yeah, harden the fuck up, man. And it doesn't work. Just doesn't work. And it's been really like, this has been the best tour that we've ever done by a long fucking shot. Like by a long shot. And it's the nicest part of it has been playing on stage and just looking around at my mates on stage and smiling at them and going, this is rad. Like this is rad. Like we've been through so much together, and I can see the joy that you have in the music that we've created and the moment that we're having here. And it's awesome. Like at the end of the day, like you strip everything away and we're still just having fun playing music together. And it was kind of, even that part was kind of got rolled over by just expectation and time and pressure and everything. So now that we're able to strip it back and get back to that basic part, man, let alone the craziness of what's going on, just that basic building block there of just friends enjoying each other's company, doing something they love, it's like stronger than ever.
How does it kind of make you feel, when you look back at Darker Still now and you're kind of like, wow, like look at what we've made and we've come through all of this.
Oh, it's nice, because it's definitely nice because we were stoked. Like it was a hard process recording it and writing it and everything, but when we finished it, like when we got the final master back, we were like, congratulations, well done, all of us. We did everything we wanted to do. No stone left unturned. There's nothing we ever want to change about this. And then we're like, all right, let's deal with the fallout. But now that we've moved or are moving past that or through that stage, it's nice to just have it exist how it exists. I think it's just a very honest piece of work, and like we're always proud of everything we do, and I'm really proud of this one. Like it's interesting. The thing that I found interesting is there's lyrics and stuff that are written that I find resonate a lot harder now than when I wrote them. that I read them and I'm like, yeah, I didn't really realize what I was writing about there to this degree, and now makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Like I can't like the art doesn't lie a lot of the time, so yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, well, they always say the best art comes out of the most pained places.
100%, yeah, man, dude, yeah. In terms of it fitting the time and place and the artistic integrity behind it, I can't fault any part of it, and I'm really happy with like every single aspect of it, to from like the songs to the artwork to the music videos to the stage show. Like it's all supposed to be cohesive, and this is the most cohesive world we've created thus far in terms of like where's Parkway at while they're here.
It's amazing, and like in many ways, like as a singer, did you ever see kind of like yourself doing like a Tom Waits kind of style song on If a God Can Bleed, and like how does that make you feel now, like all this time later, that you're like, wow, shit, we can actually do all this
there's a lot of stuff on this record where I'm like, it really was well, if you're not going to do it now, then why the hell are you even bothering to practice this stuff? So yeah, like there's the If a God Can Bleed, like programming the little like programmed the drums and like some of the bass and stuff for that, and that's the first time I programmed anything really basically, let alone like just the concept of it, and then committing to something like that, and then Ben drumming out the beats and stuff. It's for me, I was like, cool, that's steps forward. And then obviously there's a lot more singing and stuff on this record. There's just a lot of stuff that was there was commitment to the expansion, like the commitment to the expansion of the branches and the sound and the weirder elements of this band. The less comfortable elements of this band were that was one of the goals when we actually started. We knew like that we could write, like we can write a Parkway banger. Like I'm not going to say it's easy, but but we've done it before, and we like doing that. But we also, for this one, we're just like, well, let's see how far out we go. And you've got, essentially when we started writing, we're like, you've got unlimited time. Like touring's not coming back for years. Like you might not even get to record this record, so it's kind of no excuse. It's a good chance this is the last thing you ever get to record. Like who the hell knows? So like, what do you want to do? And the imagination really takes off in those moments. So that's when we're like, sweet, like you got the title track. All right, fuck, we're gonna go for that. Awesome. We're gonna do something like If God Can Bleed. Awesome. Have some weird like Stephen Hawking vocals under like and all that kind of stuff. Like that's all, like it's all in there, and then figuring out what that album's actually going to mean and how it all works together. Like that's where the sense of like making it a cohesive thing is where the accomplishment comes from. Because like for me, it's not so much about what I can and can't do, although like I'm really proud of the fact that we can have a song like Dark is Still Where It Is Just Sung, and it's the conviction is there and the performance is there, and it's obviously steps away from where I started. It's more about the capturing of the character in a way that has integrity and has a commitment to the concept. Like there's some weird stuff on there, and it's deliberately weird, and it's like it's supposed to make you go, you're saying it like that, you're singing it like that, the voice sounds like that, like it's off kilter to a degree, or it's too exaggerated or something. Like that's the way it's fucking supposed to be. It's supposed to be overly exaggerated. The character is there for a reason. Like it was commitment to that rather than like trying to push it back into a box that someone would expect. It's more about like basically trying to push the walls further out. Because at the end of the day, that's what metal is in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I always find it interesting when someone's like, oh man, that voice sounds a little bit put on or something. I'm like, the fuck do you think screaming is? Like, isn't metal put on in general? So yeah. So yeah.
I totally understand what you mean, like evolving and stuff. I always liken it to like your friends. You don't necessarily have all the same friends you had from when you were in high school. You meet other people and your taste changes and things like that. So why not?
Oh, it's just life. That's the thing. It's just life, and at the end of the day, this band's journey has just been, 5 people creating some stuff, and everything else that's happened around it has been a response to what we create.
Mm-hmm.
It's always come from the same point of just us enjoying what we do, and wanting to challenge ourselves, and the influences of life slowly changing the way we bring things in. Because like as 20 years, your tastes change. Like familiarity, like becomes either ingrained in you with the things you love, or you become so familiar with something it starts losing an impact and you want something else to come in. And the journey of Parkway has been the sonic representation of that in 3-year intervals. And what happens in 3 years? So that's the thing. Like essentially, like people know us through 7 albums and an EP, which is not a lot of time, and a bunch of interviews, and they're like, I know exactly who you are. And why have you changed this much? And I'm like, well, essentially, you know about 3.5 hours of our lives and the amount of time that we've done some interviews. Like, this is an artistic reflection of a large space of time spent on planet Earth doing some really strange things.
So what would you say is kind of, obviously because things have changed so much and all this sort of stuff over 20 years, like what's the constant of Parkway Drive then?
The 5 of us, I think, is the constant. Yeah, that's kind of it. It is really just that's the constant, and it's been the 5 of us and the friendship that we have and that dynamic through all of everything that's happened. That's the core of it. And I think a combination of that, everything that I said about like the integrity of just wanting to do it because we enjoy doing it, and it being a reflection of who we are. And in terms of where we sit, I think the gratitude for what we actually have, in terms of the relationship that we have with people who've listened to our music. Like we've always been very open with the fact that anyone is welcome to listen to this. We do really believe that if you take the time to listen to Parkway, there's something in here that will resonate with you. You might leave it again someday, but there is something that will resonate with you. And it seems the relationship we have with people who have listened to us always seems to be really genuine. Like really genuine. People seem to understand that it's not supposed to be pretentious. It's not supposed to be idol worship of any kind. Like it's humans making art, and that's the way they treat it. And the response seems really genuine. Like when you stand on stage and I feel people singing along, hear people singing along, see the faces. It's not fanaticism or idol worship. It's a connection, which is a very different thing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure, mate. Stoked.
Cool.